Hello, everyone. We can all come in live at this time. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi. Hello.
Everyone, come on in. Awesome, awesome. We are now Facebook Live, and you guys can go actually to our Facebook page and share that to your page as well. Just excited to have you guys here, waiting for everyone to come on board. Great, great. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Really good. And I'm on my left side, just checking the Facebook page to make sure it comes in well. It's still turning a little bit. And let me see, let me move this out the way. There it is. Great, great, great. Well, I just want to welcome you guys to the 11th annual Charlotte Black Film Festival. And I was thinking earlier today to myself about how crazy I am. You know what I mean? You know, to be bold and to do something to create a platform, you know what I mean? To try to, you know, duplicate something versus paying someone else to do it. And so once again, you know, just was thinking about that. And I thought about you guys as filmmakers. And one of the things that came to me was how filmmaking and faith ties together. It's so interesting because when you guys first start out in creating your film, all you have is a piece of paper or either a keyboard and a page of something that you're hoping for, right? Like faith is the things we hope for, the substance of things not seen. So at this stage of your filmmaking process, of the writing phase, the thinking phase, you got here because of a passion, because of maybe your experience, or something you heard about that you wanted to write, but you placed it here, and this became your hope. And now that we're here, we have what we call manifested hope, because what you guys had here on paper by faith now has manifested itself into reality, which is your film, which is the hope unseen now becomes a reality. So I always think about how close filmmaking and faith kind of ties in together, because when you create this stuff, you're starting out blind. You know, you guys are putting ideas on paper, and you really don't know what the end is going to be. Am I right? I mean, who agrees with that? You agree with that? And then, you know, one thing about hope is it never comes out the way you want it. Every time you're on set, every time you plan a production, there is something that's going to happen. I don't care who you are, how much money you have, how big your production or how small your production, something's going to happen that was unplanned. Did anybody have a perfect production? Let me know. If you had a perfect production, let me know. I'm just curious if that happens. So it really blows my mind. But just kudos to you guys, the filmmakers who are here. My name is Tommy Nichols, founder of the Charlotte Black Film Festival. Super excited to have you guys as we kicked off the virtual festival today. And it's so interesting because you guys are going to run for 48 hours. And so we saw the day was the first 48. Tomorrow's the second. I'm sorry, the day is the first 24. You got 24 more hours tomorrow, and you'll be combined with block number 2. And so what I'm going to do real quick is have you guys go around the room and introduce yourself and your film, and because we're really going to get into your film and the thought process behind the film, the production of your film. So just introduce yourself real quick, where you're from, the name of your film, and the role you played in your film. Okay? All right, Chloe, let's go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chloe Gardner. I'm from West Hartford, Connecticut, and my film is A Siren Sorrow, and I was the writer, director, and producer.
Oh, wow. 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 And we can talk now about the film because it has screen, right? And so when I saw that film, I said, wow, it was so interesting. And I wondered how your costume design for the mermaid. You know what I mean? And you know, if you guys got to see this film, it's so interesting. And so talk about your thoughts behind creating this particular project.
Well, from a child, I've always loved fantasy and fantasy characters, fantasy stories, and I've always had an obsession with mythical creatures, and I've always loved mermaids. But the way they're always depicted in film, it's always been kind of a fun, quirky, out of water creature like Ariel or Aquamarine. If you've seen those movies, and the real story of mermaids is that they're very dangerous. They're dark. They cause a lot of distress. They cause shipwrecks, drownings, and I wanted to explore more of that mythos surrounding them instead of the happy, curious mermaid that comes on land. So
It's interesting because in that character, let me see if I can come up with a proper name. She was nice, nasty. Anybody ever heard that term before? She was nice, nasty. I mean, it was like, wow. I mean, it was almost like she was nice the whole time she was being devious.
yeah.
So talk about, you know, creating that character. What did you have, as a sample? What did you have, in order to create that character?
Well, again, with film, I feel like we don't really get to see a lot of female villains. So I kind of, again, wanted to explore that. Around the time I was making this, Game of Thrones was big. So I loved Cersei. If you know Alphaba from the Wizard of Oz, but more the dark side of her story and why she acts the way she does. And those were kind of my references. There's also a book called Carmilla. It's about a female vampire that seduces a young woman. It was written, I believe, in the 1800s. So kind of that idea of just these women that entice other women that are evil, that can be manipulative. I just wanted to explore that. I thought it would be fun, especially with female leads. We don't really have that a lot, especially women of color. So I just wanted to bring that in my own kind of twisted way with mermaids.
Where are you from?
I'm from Connecticut.
So where did you find the set for that? Where is that?
Well, I actually filmed in California when I was in film school. So
She had the rocks and the ocean. I mean, you really, it really. Okay, so let's talk about the underwater scene.
oh Lord. That was actually in a pool. There was a family that I found that let me use their pool to film it. And so we had to get a splash bag and I can't remember the type of camera, but it was underwater. And then the water was freezing. I love my actresses that they stuck through it, but it was a lot of fun filming it. But it was also very stressful because we had to have lifeguards on set. We had to make sure the camera crew didn't get wet.
Oh, wow.
So, but everyone stuck with me. John was actually on my set as well, so he knows everything.
Oh, really? Oh my God, John is everywhere. You know what I mean? I didn't know that. So John, so you understand what I'm talking about, right? When I'm talking about the film.
Oh yeah.
Good. And so interesting. So what are you looking to do next with that? Because you can take that particular piece and go in so many directions. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it could be a whole family. It could really go as far as your mind, can imagine. I mean, do you have any desires to take it anywhere else?
I would love to do a feature of it, maybe expand the story, expand maybe why Lorelai wants to leave the ocean, maybe focus more on the mother character of Gaia, kind of show her more willing to do more to get her daughter and how it makes Lorelai more willing to manipulate her and kind of show that dynamic more. So
yeah. And maybe there was some history about this mermaid that we didn't know.
Yeah.
I love that story. So I think that would be good. Just really, really a good story. If you don't mind, place it, if you have multiple screens, but place the trailer. I placed the ioctv.net where folks can go see all the trailers there to check that out. I just think it's definitely interesting, worth watching. It's a good story, and it gave, we were hoping for the best, and it was interesting. So now we're curious about what happened. It's like it left us there. Where did she go? What is she doing? What happens? You know what I mean? After that.
I don't know. We gotta make a sequel, see her life on land, see what she's doing,
Awesome. Good. Did you guys happen to see, anyone else see the film? Might have a question about her film?
I was there doing the making of it, so and I've seen it multiple times. So I thought it was great just to see characters of color in fantasy genres, and more of that is welcomed. And I think so. I think she did a great job accomplishing that. I was there from the start when she started writing it because we've been in class together forever. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I believe that two things: animals and water increases your production value. I believe it gives a sense of more. You know, when you that whole water was the majority, the whole rocks, the whole. I mean, it grabbed my attention right away just because of the set that you had established there. So really, good job, good job. All right, Jonathan, go ahead.
I said, and children.
And children, right. Woo, yeah, that's a lot of liability. So make sure it's somebody you know, right? Jonathan, let's talk about your film. Go ahead and introduce yourself, name of your film, and the role you played in this particular film.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Jonathan Rowan, and I'm the writer, director, and also producer of Man Down. Man Down was shot in Los Angeles, California, when I also attended film school. It was my thesis film. And yeah, I'm currently located in Los Angeles, California, originally from Louisville, Kentucky.
Interesting. Talk about the premise of the film. Where did this film come from?
So this film came from two places, probably actually three places. One, my uncle was murdered by the police, so that sparked my interest in kind of diving into something that has brought trauma to our family, especially to my mom. And then also having friends on the other side who were officers of color, which I talked to and interviewed and got a lot of, nitty gritty things from their inside their mind, inside their perspectives, how this character that plays my lead would move in this story. And then also, just from the many unfortunate killings of Black people in the United States for years, for decades, for a century, like for a long time of our history of existence being on here in different facets, we've been murdered and mistreated due to, a systematic oppression against us. So it was interesting for me to take this idea and kind of flip the narrative and do it from the point of view of an officer of color instead of just telling the victim stories. So I feel like every movie that comes out is from the perspective of the victim and never from the Black officer. We see it, the white officer is the villain, so it was just interesting to do something different.
And so in this, and it really grabbed our attention because we want to do a panel, and I hope I got my message, a panel around that with local police staff here, sheriff, as well as state troopers, and we titled it Black or Blue. So supporting the color, right? Mm-hmm. That's the title of the panel. So I'm looking for you to be there, and just talk about that challenge that you have being an officer of color in that particular sorority. That fraternity. Is it blue or is it black? In terms of when you see injustice, how do you respond to that? So we want to have a conversation, not to beat them down, but open conversation from officers about the challenges they face being African American here in America, and get the take on that. So that's what we're going to talk about. So where did you shoot? Where did you shoot this particular film?
I shot it in Los Angeles, California.
Was there any? Did you shoot at a station? Did you get any support from the local police? Did you reach out to the local police at all?
For my more dangerous scenes, like shooting scenes, I had to have an officer on set. So I had an officer there, but I mean, he didn't have a personal opinion or anything. He was just there for safety. And then also my actors were talking to him, picking his brain about, how they hold the weapon, how would they naturalistically happen in the setting. So it was, it was there for learning and safety. It was interesting. But other than that, other things were shot on studio sets and in live environments like neighborhoods and different places like that.
How friendly, we know about LA, but how friendly is LA to independent filmmaking? The city, the zoning, all that stuff.
Long as you have money for permits, they don't mind. That's the main thing. I mean, LA is about making money off of film. So that's what a lot of things, and especially indie filmmakers, you could make a film somewhere else, another state, and they may or may not require a permit to film. But LA is just like, they make money off of it. So they look for it intentionally just to make money off of you. And then also people walk up to your set and you don't know who's who. Like, you know, maybe like in another city, somebody's like, wow, y'all making a movie, but they're so used to people making movies in LA. You have to be careful what you say to these people because they're looking to call the police on you. They're looking to get you in trouble if you don't have your paperwork together.
Wow, wow, interesting, interesting. So talk about this, and we'll go back around, and I'm hold this question when we go back around. So Kay Barnes, hello.
Hi.
Where are you? We want to see you.
I can't come on camera right now. I'm in a place where I can't come on camera, but I can talk here.
Okay, well, good. Well, introduce yourself. Tell us about your project and what your role was in the project, and where are you from?
Well, my name is Kay Barnes, and I am the director and writer of Buddy Creativity. And this was a film that I made in school for our project was soon as school got shut down for COVID. And this was kind of like a diary entry, almost like re-looking at it so many times now, of like the things that happen within myself and within my community with my own creativity, and being in a film school, which is a very usually an in-person thing, and then having to be in isolation. And it's kind of like a rehash of what happened in my community because of that, and how my gardening kind of brought us all kind of out of isolation in a safe way, of course, but connected us again. So it's kind of about the connectivity that we had and that we all discovered that we had within.
And you shot this during COVID, correct?
I did, in the midst of COVID, right in the jump off of COVID, yeah.
Did anybody else shoot their project during COVID in the last year and a half? Okay, good. And so what did you learn about this? Because it was almost, you know, documentary style. What did you learn about yourself in this project?
Oh man, that, like, you know, I should never stop creating. Number one, that creativity is there and you can find it in anything really. And you really just have to dig deep within yourself. And that's really what I've learned. Like, nothing should stop you from creating. I literally had like, it was like a one-man crew, and, you know, and my family was the cast, like, and we created this docu short, and it was amazing. And so I guess the thing I want to leave with is never stop creating. That's what I learned.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Our theme this year is creative awakening. You know, because of the setbacks that COVID has had on some of us, and sometimes you get low, but everything's happening. Sometimes you can cut that part off because of life. Life happens, you know, and so we just want this festival to be about rekindling that flame of creativity and content creators of color, which is really, you know, our whole point in that thing. Good, awesome. Jessica.
Hi everyone. My name is Jessica Boyer. I'm from Tallahassee, Florida. I am the writer and director of Step Family, which was my thesis film in film school.
Give us the name again.
Step Family.
Step Family.
Yes, Step Family.
Wait a minute, say that. Say it one more. I can barely hear you.
Step Family.
Step Family. Step Family. Good. Step Family. So, were you a stepper in college?
I was a stepper. I was a stepper when I was in high school, not in college. Yeah.
It's so interesting. And when you look at that, you know, and I wonder, and I think it does now. I'm not a stepper, but in real life, are those some of the situations that occur when, whether it's a sorority or a dance group? Is yours based upon real life or something that you just created?
No, mine wasn't based on real life. It was all fiction. I blended two things that I delved with during my high school years, which is I was a part of a STEP team. I was a part of an organization, that did STEP. And then I was dealing with the pressures of college applications. I didn't go as far as what my character, Chloe Martin, did, but I merged those two timelines, those two narratives together to create this story.
So you also acted in your movie, correct?
Oh no, I stayed behind the camera for
this. Oh, you did? Okay. I thought you were one of the actors or actresses. Okay,
Oh no,
because I was gonna say,
appreciate it. I wanted to get up there. I wanted to. It reminded me so much of what I was doing when I was in high school in those years, and I missed it. I wish I kept my stepping boots, but I let them go. I donated them. But this movie, doing this film, brought some nostalgia and made me wish I kept my stepping boots.
yeah. So what do you plan to do from that particular piece? Because when I first saw it, I thought it could have been a sorority, but I don't think that's what it was about. It was about a step team.
Yes, it was about a step team. And in fact, they're more than a team. The sisterhood, they come together and they're a family. They're supportive and they lean on each other. And that's what I want it to be about, because a team, you see each other when you're in that moment, but a family, you're more than just a team. You're each other's support system. You're there for each other when you need someone to talk to. And when you're a family, there are certain things that are kind of like that you always do. And some things like you're always there, and you're just, if you need help, that person is there for you. And if you need someone to be vulnerable with, then that's someone that you see as family or is in your bloodline as family.
And so one part of the film, and I guess we talk about family, is that we become forgivable about situations that we might do to hurt the family.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So
Yes.
that part. Right. Which was in the film. Great. Okay, guys. So let's talk about this. I want to go around the room and just talk about the biggest challenge that you had in making your project. Talk about, what were some of the obstacles. And Chloe, we'll start with you.
Well, everything was an obstacle, to be honest. I had child, I had water, location. I think the hardest part was the day before my shoot. Actually, one of my locations, which was a different beach, they actually said we were not allowed to film there. So, and that was like the day before my shoot. So I kind of had like a mini breakdown. But I was able to find another beach, which was actually a beach in San Pedro. So it ended up working out. But I would say that was probably the most stressful. Yeah, auditions were fun, even with the child actors, that was fun. Getting costumes was fun, getting the props was fun, getting the makeup was fun. But the beach and the pool, I think, were the most. And even though the pool worked out, those were just the concern with the pool was more so the camera getting wet, and then the concern with the beach was like making sure everyone was safe and no one drifted off with the tides. Finding a new beach after I lost the first one, so that was probably the most stressful, but it was worth it. So
Any guerrilla shooting,
I couldn't risk it with this one. I was like, we got a schedule, we got lifeguards. Stick to what is on this schedule, this budget. Yeah, no one go out of line. I can't risk it.
Okay, Jonathan. Challenges, biggest challenges.
I want to say like just dealing with the police car and the whole shooting scene. That was the hardest thing to do, and we were a lot like in LA. Like when you're shooting outside, you have to shoot between a certain time frame. Like if it's a weekday, you can't be outside longer than 10 p.m. And then if it's a weekend, it's 11. And just trying to shoot in a busy neighborhood, and people are like walking their dogs, their kids are outside, and just trying to make sure all these elements that are uncontrollable are somewhat controllable. Then you have dogs barking, you just have all this stuff going on. And then you're also shooting someone getting murdered in the middle of the street with a lot of yelling and cursing, like out loud. And you're just praying that all this goes well and something else doesn't happen. But I'm so glad that we actually had a police officer with us, because I think that was our saving grace, and just people leaving us alone. Because some people would just come up and not even talk to me. They would ignore me and talk to the officer like I wasn't there.
Oh, wow.
And just ask, what is this? What's going on? And all kind of stuff like that. And also felt like that also had to do with my Blackness as well.
Without a doubt.
But that was the biggest challenge, and just dealing with everyone, because it was such a large amount of cast and crew, and a lot of personalities. I'll just leave it there.
And how did the officer respond to their question?
About what we were doing there?
Yes. Did he refer to you, or did he try in his likeness share what you guys were doing?
Oh, well, the officer I contracted to watch us, he was not Black. So I guess he made everyone else feel comfortable. So I guess whatever questions they asked, he just answered them simplistically, and they left us alone. But nobody had to come talk to me about anything.
Gotcha. Great. Okay, Kay, any challenges? What challenges did you have on your project?
Other than the fact that it was right in the midst of COVID, and they're saying, no one's allowed to be around each other, that was a huge issue. Just because, bringing anyone outside of it other than my family, just getting people to be comfortable with, the space, which was fine because we were 6 feet apart. And so that was it. And then just like I said, being a very limited crew of, me and a camera person who, we did everything. That was a challenge, but we did it. And so that was a big challenge, having limited crew and maintaining COVID protocols. So, yeah.
Interesting. And, but that's a great idea to have your family there, because you guys were, you guys are together and have that support from your family to, be able to produce something and work together. So that's a great bonding activity as well.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. It was really, really great experience.
Good. Jessica, so I'm trying to remember the film completely. Did you have any males in your film?
I did not have. I had one lead. He would be like the supporting male lead in the film, and he was the counselor.
Okay, so go ahead with your challenge, because I want to ask you a question about that.
I would say one of my challenges were the dance numbers and making sure that we had enough time and prep to rehearse and make sure that they were in muscle memory for all of our dancers and actors. And so when we got to film, then we were able to get as many great takes as possible, whether wide or close up. That was definitely a challenge, but we were able to get it done. Yeah.
So the personalities, because it's about all female cast, you had one guy who was the counselor. Was there a little competition on the side? Did you see that?
Oh, no, there wasn't any competition. In fact, they never met. The steppers and the counselor never met. They were shooting on different days. So there was no competition on that part between the steppers and the counselor.
No, I was thinking among the steppers themselves.
Among the steppers themselves. Oh, excuse me. Oh no.
So I'm just saying, me. If I'm dancing, me and John, right? We don't, whatever the guy's dance is, right? Yeah. I'm going out, so I'm going to show Jonathan up. You know what I mean? That's my goal. So it's this internal competition thing that I'm gonna have when I come. So I just didn't know if you experienced that with your cast.
In fact, no, because the steppers were actually a family before the film was casted, because we actually hired everyone who was a part of the step team locally. So they knew each other and they already had a bond and they already had a repertoire. So if there was any that I didn't see, it was all friendly. But what I did see, there was no competition. Yeah.
Did you teach step?
Did I teach step? No. We had a step coach. I'm good. I can follow the steps. I can keep a beat, but right. I'm not an expert.
Okay, got you. Interesting. So that's, because some filmmakers will do part of the score, right? And you guys hear that, create the score, work close to the score of your film. And so some of the other things in your film, you find the writer, director, whatever, also is the dancer and choreograph the steps as well. So I'm just curious about that. So let's talk about, where do you guys go from here? What are you doing now? And then tell me, in 5 years from now, where do you see yourself? And okay, we're going to start with you. Tell us what you're doing now, what you got going on, some of the projects you're working on, what's coming up, and where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, currently I am currently at the moment working on an HBO project that's shooting in Charleston right now, and I just wrapped on a short film that I shot this year, and it is on the festival circuit right now. And next up for me, hopefully, is a feature that I'm working on here. So I'm very excited about that. And in 5 years, I hope to be directing episodic television. And yeah, just living my dreams.
Awesome, awesome. Let me repeat that. Working on an HBO project now in Charleston. You just completed a short film, and your goal is to next year do a feature film. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Awesome, awesome. Just want to let people know what's happening with some of the folks who are content producers here, all the great folks you have. We appreciate that. Jessica, let's talk about you. What do you have going on? What's happening? And where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, what's going on currently is that I am in the production office for a miniseries here in Atlanta, and I'm working my way up. And I hope that within 5 years, it leads me to be a director of film and/or TV.
So you're presently working with the studio in the production office.
Yes.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So in that position, what kind of exposure are you getting to the next level?
I interact a lot with the producers, whether they're studio executives or they're co-producers, the line producer, and those my colleagues around me, and people from practically every department with props, arts. And so I'm hoping that that exposure helps to build new networks and lead to my goal of being a director.
Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. Jonathan, first of all, before you answer this, how many films have you completed, Jonathan?
I'm almost at 20.
20. How old are you?
I am in my 30s.
Oh, you look much younger too. But yeah, but you look much younger. I thought you would say 24 or something. But 20 projects, wow. Talk about what you're doing now in the future, and tell me about 5 years.
I just wrapped a film last month, a new short, horror short called Children of Night. And it's a vampire movie. So it plays in the genre of horror and fantasy with a diverse cast of people. Also been contracted for a film that's gonna be shooting in September. So, you know, this is like some working gig stuff. And yeah, I guess, and just content creating throughout the years and, you know, just building my brand further. Hopefully in 5 years out, I'm working more commercially and directing television and film. So yeah.
Talk to everyone. You just said something key, and I want the folks who watch this. You said you were contracted out for a film. Talk about what that means.
Yeah, so I was hired to direct a project that's not my own.
Yeah.
So, you know, like as we become like working directors and everything everyone's seeking to, you're going to get contracted to work on work that is not your own production. So, you know, I think that's a blessing. To be a working director, you know, out of film school, because a lot of times this journey is just weird and you don't know where you're going next and you don't know how you're being viewed, you know, right after, and this can be a struggle. But as long as you know, keep steadfast in your journey and just keep keeping your name out there. And that's one thing that I've been doing during the pandemic, is just building my brand from the ground up now that I've graduated from film school, and just make myself more accessible to people and also to jobs and opportunities.
Great, great. And you're in LA and Jessica's in Atlanta. Both places super competitive in this space, and it's really active. Both, we got LA and we have, they call Atlanta Black Hollywood. So you have both of those cities that really producing a lot of films that we see here. Chloe, how about yourself?
Hi. Okay. So for me, a film that I made last year, it's called Pumps. I was my thesis film, but because COVID hit, some of the post-production wasn't quite finished, and I actually just finished, or my colorist just finished with color correction and sent me the film. So I'm ready to submit that to festivals now. I've also been working on a short documentary for another film competition, and it's focusing on bees and how they're affected by climate change. So I hope to submit that. And then I'm trying to get back to LA. I was in LA, but then COVID hit and I had to come back home for a little bit. So I'm trying to find some opportunities out there so I can go back and work on my career. And in 5 years, I want to be marketing and promoting movies. I wanted to do distribution, but I think I like marketing now. I think it's fun and interesting to get movies out to the public, especially now how everything's changed with streaming and COVID and yeah, so
And those are tied pretty close too. When you say marketing and distribution, those are tied together. So probably going to be doing one or the other or both at the same time, probably. Okay, awesome, awesome. We're going to close, but I want you guys to share with, new individuals who are coming up. They want to be filmmakers. They're creating film content. Maybe have not made it into a festival. But what advice would you give up and coming young Black women? What advice would you give up and coming young Black men who are in this space and want to be as great as you guys are? Let's go with you, Kay.
Oh man, I guess I would tell them both, like, tell your stories, write what you know, create what you know. Your stories matter. Don't try and, conform to what you think everybody else wants, because people don't know what they want until you show it to them or you give it to them. They say, oh, well, we want this today, we want that today. But then you see this thing that you're like, well, that's none of that. Well, it's because people don't know what they want until you give it to them. And then they want it. And they're like, we need that. And so just know that your stories matter. Don't try and assimilate or whatever else. Just be you. Tell your story.
I like that. Tell your story. I think that's so good because all of us have a story. All of us have an experience. All of us have a passion or something that we're fighting for that we can tell in a cinematic way. Tell your story. I love that. How about you, Jessica?
For me, my advice would be to always find the personal in your story and how it can relate to others. I believe every story is universal, and even if it's someone that looks like you or doesn't look like you, there's always something that you can take from it. So always find that personal, universal line in your story and expand from there.
So yeah, that's good. So repeat that one more time so I can make sure that I want folks in the back to hear this. Say that one more time.
Take that personal, universal line of your story and expand it from there.
Expand it, yes. So tell your story, and are you saying make it universal? Are you saying take your story and expand it whereby it reaches everyone?
Yes. Yeah, because in the end, everyone's story it has like maybe different shades or different different like doors, but ultimately it's universal. It's same in one way or another.
And that is so true. I meet people all the time on the streets, and I can meet younger, older white gentlemen who you think would have nothing in common. And my wife and I was in Hilton Head 2 weeks ago. And I saw this guy with a Chicago baseball shirt. He came in with he had a Chicago shirt with the Chicago Cubs. And all I said as he was walking past me was, go Cincinnati Reds. That's all I said. We talked almost the whole trip.
Yeah.
Just that one little thing that we found in common, right? So that is really, really good. Find something that will, I always say, speak outside of your hood.
Mm-hmm. And it helps you relate to one another, people that you know, people that you don't know, like the man that you met.
Yeah. And as you go up the ranks, you're going to find that distributors and studios, they want to know who's going to be your audience. How can they relate to what you're creating, what you're writing, what you're producing? Who is your audience? And so I think that's very, very, very good. So I'm writing all this good stuff down. Great. All right, let's go with you, Jonathan.
What I would say is just encouragement to stay the course, stay the journey. A lot of people look at us or, for example, like I made my first movie probably when I was 23. Wow. It was a feature. So now that I went to film school just to kind of groom myself and I have this plethora of films now, people just think it happened overnight, but no, I've been doing this for a long time. And it takes time to get to where you want to go in your journeys and your careers and your life. So no matter the time, like never give up, just keep working on yourself, keep working to get to your goals. And if it's meant for you, it'll happen for you, but you just gotta do the work.
Yeah, gotta do the work. Yep. Stay consistent. Is that what you're saying? Stay consistent, do the work, and it's interesting. Creating the Charlotte Black Film Festival, there are so many people here that started out as content creators. Now, this is our 11th year. So let's say our 3rd year, they were hot. They were creating films. 4th year, they were creating films. Now they're not creating films. And so it's good to know that we've been consistent. So whenever they're ready to jump back in, there's a support system here for them. You know what I mean? And so folks, life happens and folks come in and come out. But I think if this is really your goal, really your passion, stay consistent, creating content or supporting other content creators. You don't always have to be creating something. You can be supporting others who are creating content as well. Write all good stuff down. Okay, Chloe.
So advice for young Black female filmmakers. I would just say, just follow your dreams. And if it's your passion, like Jonathan said, stay consistent, especially as, you know, young women, just be confident, you know what you want. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do it. Prove them wrong. You're going to get a lot of that in this industry in general, but then being a woman and being a woman of color, you just always be confident, know what you want, and just really pursue it. And I don't know, that's that would be my advice. I would tell. That's what people told me at work. That's what I'd like to tell other people. So
Yeah, what do you think, you know, because what do you think was the keys for you? What did, you know, what happened that allowed you to, you know, produce this film, you know, especially at the level that it is, and, you know, what do you think it took for you to get this done?
for me, honestly, I would say it was definitely confidence, but I feel like I got that throughout film school. And I think because if you had told me my first year of film school that I was going to be making a movie about a mermaid and I would have had water child, I would, no, that won't be my project. And I think that's why I say, you know, if you really want to pursue this and it's your dream, don't let anyone stop you, because, and just be confident, be okay, you know you're going to make mistakes, know it takes time to get there. I think probably that was one thing that really hit me, is that you're not going to hit it out the park right out the bat with your first few films, and that they're not things that you should be embarrassed about or ashamed, that it's just, okay, that didn't work, I'm going to take what didn't work and what did work into my next film, and then you
Yeah,
just build up that.
I spoke to someone today, so good, a young man, and they, you know, wanted to talk to me about, they're doing this film screen. So his first film is a feature film, which I said, you know, congratulating him for getting this feature film done. There's a lot of people who do shorts, they're trying to do features, some who will never do a feature. So I congratulated him with that. But I said, because this is your first film, if you really want someone to look at it, you got to be open for criticism. Because I'm telling you, you made a lot of mistakes. So he got his feelings a little bit. And I'm on the phone, you know, got his feelings a little bit. And I said, you must be open to this, but you should be proud that you got this done. You know, and so what, you know, actually his dad was with me, what's your distribution plan? He said, well, we want to go on Netflix. And I said, well, did you look at the Netflix approved standards, the equipment, shooting? No. So, you know, so just really encouraging him to get involved with our monthly meetups and things like that, to network and just learn, you know, and understand it. Even the most experienced people still get it wrong. And you're not always in demand for this season. Then the next season comes. Everyone has these stories like this. So once again, I think it's consistent. And if you have to work while you're creating your craft, get a job. To still create your craft. You know what I mean? Until that time happens where folks really see your value. And that's what it is, find your value. So good. Well, guys, really appreciate you guys. This is Block One. We're submitting. You should get an email about how to log into the system. So you can see how to get your free pass. We went today, you know, and everything was pending. So we had to re-enter all the information, but it's your first initial, last name, with your first initial, your last name, both capitalized. And then you see the email, how that works to log into the system. Everything should be up tonight. You guys are there. Really appreciate you guys. The Red Carpet Vision Awards is going to be the 26th. We're going to celebrate you guys. You should be getting your nomination letter here tomorrow, the next day. Wish you guys could come down. I don't know if anybody's planning to. I know John is in LA. Chloe, where did you move back to?
Where did I move back to?
Yes.
Yeah, I went from LA back to West Hartford, Connecticut.
Okay. So you, yeah.
I'm on the East Coast all the way.
What's the favorite statement people say to you all the time about living there?
Their favorite thing about Connecticut?
What do they say? What comment do they make to you when you tell them you're from Connecticut? What do they say?
Uh, they always make comments about just being suburbia and kind of boring. But I don't, it's home to me, so you know.
Okay. Well, good guys. Hey, guys, appreciate you guys for being here. This is our Block One Filmmakers. You know, I just saw someone who came on who got off, so they're gonna, I guess, make it tomorrow. Super excited about your project. If you guys don't mind, if you can take your trailer link and if you can place it under this Zoom on our Facebook page, I really would appreciate that. Take your trailer from your film, place it here. Or your poster as well, and place it there so folks can go directly and see the trailer. Is that good? Great. Okay, good. Okay. All right, guys. Appreciate you. Thank you guys for being here and look forward to seeing you guys again. All right.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye. Have a good one.
Bye. Have a good one.